guys, and welcome to part 3 on this Volkswagen Scirocco Roof Repair and Respray. So in this stage we're going to be going through the base coat and clear coat stage. Now if you followed parts 1 and 2, you know we left at the end of the masking stage in part 2. All we've done since then is we've just put a little bit of tape inside the aerial hole on the roof, and we've just put some polymask around the car. We've done some pre-panel wipe on the roof. I've tack ragged it off once, gone out of the booth, mixed my paint up, and then come in with a fresh tack rag, and all we're doing is using the air from the spray gun and just tack ragging over this roof just to make sure this roof's nice and clean. Obviously a big flat panel like this is going to be prone to dust settling on it and stuff like that, so any dust, overspray, anything like that, you just want to make sure that even before you start the job, I always like to just tack rag something like a roof off twice. Now the base coat we're using is just a solvent base coat. We've only got a very small amount of it for this job because it only needs a small blow in, and I'm putting it through my 1.3 eye water bell area. Really nice going for base coat, and a really nice fan pattern. Stuff like metallics and that, it gives a real nice even finish all over the car and makes, I think, putting the base coat down a pretty effortless job. So with it being a red, I'm just going to put first a couple of light coats over this primer, just to make sure we've got no reactions or any problems with the paint or any of the prep work before we even start really getting the paint down on there. Now it's quite a warm day, so something like a solvent base coat will flash off really quick, so all I'm doing is using the air from the spray gun just to speed this blowing up. Now as I said in part 2, we have actually had this matched to the car. Now what we did with our paint supplier, because we haven't got a paint scheme in-house, is I had took the fuel cap off. We gave this to our paint supplier, he took it away and chipped it up for us, so we had a really nice match. So on that corner there, even though I am going edge to edge, as you'll see at the end, it does leave a really perfect colour match on this car. The beauty of it is, with only being about a year or so old, this red's had no time to fade. The car's been well looked after, and also our paint guy is really good at matching the colours, so we can get a really nice even match on this paint. Now red, being notorious for being bad for coverage, will take quite a few coats, so unfortunately this stage does take quite a while. In some water-based systems it might take you a while. From what I've heard, some of their reds aren't quite as good for coverage, but basically, even though I've skipped the middle section of that out, keep as you would, coating it up, make sure all that primer and everything's covered, make sure your repair area looks nice and even with the rest of the car, and then give it, on something like this corner, a nice small blend out on the roof. You don't want to go too mad with it because it doesn't really need it, with this match being so good, and also with this being a solid colour rather than a metallic. It's not like you really need to be putting any drop coats or anything like that down to even any metallics or pearls out in the paint, so there's a bit of hassle and a bit of time saved there. Basically get that repaired area coloured up, give it a nice little blend out across your roof, and then as long as you're happy that one, your paint match was right to start off with, and two, that your blend will be alright, then you're ready really to start thinking about getting it dried down and get your clear coat on there. One thing to make sure on a job like this is obviously where we put that J-tape, the J-tape trim tape in there, is just to make sure that that area down that edge that we've pulled away where the rubber was, make sure you've got the coverage in there, because the last thing you want to do is to take that tape off and realise that where there's a tiny bit of a shadow in your booth maybe, that you haven't got quite enough coverage down that little edge across the front of that windscreen. Because obviously if you do a job like this and then you lacquer it all up and then you realise that that front edge doesn't quite have enough paint in there, that's going to cause you problems in the long run, or even a complete redo on the whole roof, which obviously is just not something that you really want. So gun wise for this job, I've decided to use the Starter 5000. It's a 1.2 RP with the RPS system on top. The RPS system I'm quite a fan of, and also this gun, it does for something like this where you want a nice really flat roof using a good quality high solids clear coat, then this really does pump this stuff on and really will give you a really effortless nice finish on this roof, that basically when you finish with it, you should need a quick denib and a polish and you should be good to go. Now one thing I did mention about the roof, obviously is overspray and stuff settling on the roof. So in between coat, what I would do on a job like this, or pretty much any job really that I do in the booth, is I just give it a tap rag off before I put my clear coat down. Now, one thing that you do want to make sure, and I can't stress enough, is make sure that your base coat is well off before you start tap ragging it off. I've done it, and I know a lot of painters who've done it. You think it's flashed off, and it's just a surface that's just flashed off, and you rub your tap rag across it, and you can end up marking your base coat, and that's just not something that you want at this stage in a job. So just take your time, make sure that everything's dried down nicely, and that you're happy before you tap rag everything off. Now, I have found that with this gun and with this clear coat, the best option is to put, really, I'd say a full closed coat, but a fine coat down first. So we're not going to put as much of an overlap in there, and we're going to move quite quickly on this one. We're not going to try too hard on that first coat to get a real solid coverage. We're just going for a fine closed coat across the whole roof, nice and even, and then we're going to give it, I leave it around about 10 to 15 minutes in my booth to flash off, because it's just an ambient temperature booth, as you guys know. And then the second coat, we're going to go a little bit slower, a little bit of a tighter overlap for a full wet coat again, but a nice build wet coat, which should leave you then with a real nice glassy finish to this roof. Which obviously on a car like this, it's a good money car. You want this car at the end of it looking as good as it did when it came out of the factory, which should be really what you're aiming for with any job. Whether you're working on quite a peely BMW, like we did in one of the videos, or whether you're using something or doing something like this roof, where it's got quite a flat finish to this roof. So you can go that little bit higher with it on a stock repair and make it a real nice flat finish on there, and it's not going to stand out from the rest of the car. But you want to make sure that whenever you do any refinishing work on a repair job such as this, that it matches in with the rest of the car nicely. So that is it for the first coat. It really is just a nice quick coat. Make sure you've got everything covered, full closed coat, and then we're going to get ready for the second coat. One thing I like about these RPS cups is they are really easy to use. If you ever run out, they're fast to change over, heads angle on them. There's so much to them. I might actually have to do a little bit of a video in a bit more detail on those cups. And the good thing is, you can just pop the tab in on the top, turn it upside down, and just check your clear coat and just see how much you've got left for the second coat. So this stage, I just had a quick walk around, make sure everything looks alright, make sure everything's looking nice. Just again, before you start your second coat, check your pressures, make sure everything's right before you put your gun and start putting paint on the car. So for the second coat, as I said, we're just going to go that little bit slower and that little bit of a tighter overlap. That's going to put your clear coat down that little bit heavier, and if you've got your settings dialed in right and you're happy with how your gun's spraying and it's nice and clean, then a gun like this will put this roof down effortlessly and leave an effortlessly really nice finish across the whole roof. And also, I would say that one important part when you're spraying is being confident in your equipment and your setup that you're using. I tend to find that the more confident you are in your setup and your equipment, the less time you spend overthinking a job, and you can just get in there with a nice clear head, put some paint down really nice and flat, and knock out some really nice jobs in the booth. Now, as you guys know, I have taken a little bit of a break. Thanks for being patient with us while we have. It's given me a bit of time to reflect on the channel, and as I've said in the previous video, we do want you guys to get a bit more involved. Let us know what you want to see more of. If you've got any problems or anything you want help with or a dedicated video making for, let us know and we will do our best to make that up for you. Obviously, bear in mind, we've got a lot of subscribers, so it might take a bit of time, but we will always do our best to get round and answer every question, and if we can, also make a bit of a video tutorial to answer your question too. So for all you guys that have been subscribers from the start, thanks very much for watching. For all you new guys out there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like if it's helpful for you. As always, if you've got any questions or any comments or anything you want to know about the products, materials, toolings or methods that we've used, then don't forget, put that in the comments below and we will get back to you. Thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you again soon for some more fresh videos.